It's gonna be alright. Yeah. Everything is gonna be alright. Good morning, and welcome to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. It is Monday, March 28th, and as we now almost getting ready with the March winds and we'll have the April showers. We are here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM WBIS. And good morning, Calvin. How are you today?
Oh, good morning, Renee, and our awesome radio listeners out there. I'm doing quite well.
Okay, so at the start of our show, we always like to speak about the corona virus and what give a little update. I do know that they're trying to get approval, Calvin, for the second booster. And of course, you know that we will be boosterized once the booster comes out. And if you're out there and you have not at least gotten the first shot, do it. Okay. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your loved ones. And just do it because people are still getting the virus. What would be some of the symptoms for people to look at? Calvin?
Well, some of the symptoms are, if you have a fever or chill, you get a cough, shortness of breath or difficult breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headaches, a lot of these things. And then you got the sore throat, congestion, a runny nose, nasal or vomiting, diarrhea, so these are a lot of the symptoms. But the main thing too, Renee, is that, some of these things, if you get really sick, when to seek emergency medical care, that is also important because if you have trouble breathing or persistent pain or pressure in the chest, or new confusion or inability to wake or stay awake, these are symptoms that possibly you need to get medical attention right away.
Well, we went out for breakfast yesterday, and there was another table next to us, and it was a couple. They were two black, a couple with black men and women, two each, and they were talking. I wasn't like really supposed to be listening to the conversation, but I overheard the conversation, and they were speaking about friends that they've had that have had the virus a couple of times, and some are left with the long-term COVID. And so we want to make sure that we still continue to protect ourselves because this long-term COVID is like really taking people out. They are unable to have smells, they're unable to taste, they're unable to do things like breathing normally ever again, and it's leaving them, some of them, with heart attacks or heart conditions and also strokes. So you have to be very careful because you don't know if you've had the virus exactly how you're feeling at this time. Maybe you think these are new normal feelings, but there could be things that could be setting some alarms. Now, our telephone number here is 252 756 2008. Perhaps you'd like to join the conversation, but I want to get this out of the way, Calvin, and maybe some people will call about it. This Will Smith and this Chris Rock, the incident that was on the Academy?
The Academy Awards last night.
Right.
Yeah, I watched that. First, I thought it was a joke, but then when he went up there and actually slapped him, I won't even say what we call that in the hood, but you don't do that, and the thing is, it would have been better off if he just used his closed fist, but he used his open hand to slap another man. So, but Chris Rock, I have to give him kudos because he handled it very professional. A lot of times, people will react, but this was on global. It was all over the world. It was global. And for Will Smith to do that, it shows his ability to control himself. When you get in your 50s, you should be able to at least control your reactions because who wants to see 50-year-olds slugging it out? I don't want to see that. And the thing is, Will Smith, when he got an award, he got an award for Best Actor. However, most people gonna be thinking and talking about what he did to Chris Rock versus the fact that he got an award. And he did apologize to the Academy for what his actions were, but he did not apologize to Chris Rock. So we're gonna be talking about that, and you got people on the networks. They're not mentioning it. I was watching the news this morning, different networks, and I didn't hear anybody mention that. But we're gonna mention it right here because I think it's worth mentioning, Renee.
Okay, but my opinion on that is that I don't feel I mean, it was disrespectful, but I feel that the professional and the worldliness of Will Smith, he totally brought himself down by taking not being able to control his emotions, understanding that he was protecting his wife. But I don't think that was the best way, and that's how he's going to be remembered. Not that he won an Oscar, but he went up there and put his hands on somebody else. So again, our telephone number is 252-756-2008. I don't want to spend a lot of time on
Okay,
this,
but I
Calvin.
just want to say one other thing because Chris Rock was interviewed today, and he said that he did not know that Jada had that hair condition,
Alopecia.
alopecia. He did not. He said he didn't know she had it. So maybe if he would have known, his joke would have probably been a little different. So we have to look at that.
And I do know that at these particular things, they have scripts written out for whoever comes up to present, who's ever there. They read from scripts, so it's not only him; it's also the people who wrote the scripts should have been more aware because again, Jada has publicly gone out there and spoke about her alopecia. So we'll see if anybody wants to comment about it. It's 252-756-2008. But back to what's going on in the world, and again having some opinions on the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Our president being over there in Europe this weekend, he's him making statements how some people said it was a slip that he said that Putin should be replaced. And I'm saying sometimes I'm wondering, what about this? How are we feeling in this America with all this going on in Europe? And how are we feeling? Because I always listen and try to think about things with the third ear and the third eye, the undercut of messages. And now that this war has broken out and you have a lot of refugees going all over the place, I only wish, okay, for this America, that they would have one set of rules for refugees, not only for white Europeans, but also for Black Haitians, um, brown Hispanics who are being devastated. And my concern is that there's an overwhelming, and I feel for the people of Ukraine. Please don't mistake me out of content. But I also feel for my people who have been turned back from coming to this country, who have been corralled up by with horse people on horses when they fled to make a better life for themselves, and was met with very unsympathetic people who felt that they could treat them the way that they treated us back in slave times, with being on horses and trying to get us. The other thing is that they're talking about all these orphan children in Ukraine. Oh, there's so many orphans now that their families have been separated either through the war. And when they bring these children over to this America, are they going to put them in cages, Calvin, like they did the brown children? And where are these children, the Hispanic children who were put in cages? Where are they now? Okay, what is, because things just have a tendency to go silent. And we know that when these people come over and they merge themselves in, could they be doing this because they wanted to get more white people to counteract the voting? I mean, there's always some kind of plan that that is not put out there, but like a message that they don't think that we're conscious and we're aware of. And again, my only comment again to to Black America, Brown America, is that we have got to stick together. Stop allowing us people to separate the Haitians from the West Indians, from the Southerners, from the Northerners. We are all Black people, okay? And we need to make sure that we, in this day and age, are treated fairly. Comment, Calvin.
Well, yes, I do have a comment because they're talking about bringing 100,000 Ukrainians here to the United States, and that 100,000 going to be a lot of children, and they are putting these children in homes. But yet, when Black and brown children was trying to get here, and their families, what did they do? I'm repeating you now, Renee. They
Separation.
Separation. Right. They separated them and put them in cages, sent the parents back, and some of those children will never see their parents again in this life. So this is what we're saying. We need one set of rules for individuals, refugees that's going to come in this country. It doesn't matter if you're Black, brown, yellow. You need we need in the United States one set of rules that for whomever decide to come here, as a refugee and want asylum here because they can't go back to their own country, afraid of retaliation from whomever they're running from. Well, they should be able to get citizenship here, or at least come here on a trial basis, because we need. They always said, Renee, that this country was built on refugees. Well, you're right. It was. And there was times when they let refugees in this country because they were blonde and blue eyes. Now what happened? Because they brought us over here in slave ships, in bottom of ships. But now they want, a different set of people to come here. I'm telling Biden, he said he's for the Black and the brown. Well, President Biden, you need to set a rule, a legislation, a bill for everyone to be able to come here, that need to come here, that are running away from violence in their country, because, Africa, is a continent, of course, but there are certain segments in Africa right now that are starving, that are fighting, there are coups going on over there. You don't hear nothing about that. And that's been going on for years. It didn't just happen yesterday. So we need to look at everyone, that if we're going to help one set of people, then we need to help all sets of people.
Okay, and the other thing on refugees coming through Mexico, coming through the border. I was looking at a show yesterday, and these were physical people. I'm not making it up. This happened. I look at all kind of news in order to come prepared every Monday, and what they were interviewing, who they were interviewing, weren't the people, the Mexican people who come through the border, or the Africans who have found their way, or the Haitians who have found their way to come through Mexico seeking asylum. They interviewed Ukrainian and they interviewed Russian people. And what they were saying was that if you were Ukrainian and you came to the border, they were letting them in. Who they were not letting in at this time were the Russians. And they were saying, well, we've been here for a couple of weeks now and we want to get in. We haven't been able to bathe or whatever. And I'm saying, like, how are they just letting Ukrainians in? Okay. Will they let Russians in? Okay. When are they going to let Haitians and Mexicans and people from Nicaragua, Colombia? When are those people who are seeking, who have been seeking? And there's a lot of people from African continents also that are down there in Mexico, and they are not treating them as they are treating the Ukrainians. And all I'm saying is that I understand, well, I don't understand, because I lived through Vietnam War. I lived through some wars, but I've not been physically yet in a war-torn country. And it's not to say that this America will not be a war-torn country, because if they can fight in other places and destroy countries in other places, this America can also be destroyed. And then we too will be looking for maybe asylum someplace else. But where would we be able to go if we had Black Africans in Ukraine, and they were denied. They were shown racist at a time of war rather than compassion. And who shows compassion for black people? Period.
Well, that's a good question, Renee, because I can't see the compassion even when the young people that was in Ukraine, they were trying to get out. They was telling them that they couldn't get out because they wasn't citizens. But if they're there on a scholarship, if they're there to go to college, then they should have been able to get out just like anyone else. Matter of fact, they should have been able to get out first because they weren't citizens over there.
Well, and again, a lot of them are out. Some are still stuck there because the devastation has made it impossible for not only the black people who are over there, but also for the Ukrainians. And again, we're just asking for this America make one policy for all of the refugees. There is no anybody who comes here seeking asylum is seeking for a better life. And if you're making a better life for one set of people, make it for all people who need to have this devastation dealt with. The other thing, Calvin, I wanted to speak about is that there's so much going on. And then when they're letting these people in, are they testing them for HIV? Are they testing them for COVID? Are they testing them for TB? Because a lot of these countries, they did not get the vaccines that we have here. And this is something that they are testing, but we need to make sure that before they open the door and let a flood of people come in, make sure that they're tested because we don't need to see a rise in a lot of these communicable diseases here that we finally were able to get under some control, a little control, and so that's what I have to say about those things. Again, one policy for all refugees. Treat everybody the same. Stop showing obvious differences how you treat one set of people versus another set. 252-756-2008. And look forward to your calls.
Well, what do you think about the past President Trump's comment? He would be threatening Russia with a nuclear bomb. Well, that is so ridiculous because you don't come out and threaten someone, because if you threaten someone, then especially this Putin, he just might decide, well, they're going to do it, we're going to do it too, and we're going to be first.
Well, I would not take any comments from Trump as being serious because number one, he's not the president, so he does not hold that power. And number two, first he was talking about how he wanted to. What did he say he wanted? Oh, first he was for Putin. Now all of a sudden he would bomb Putin. So he has a conflict in his mind where he just says whatever he wants to say, and it's not something of importance. And so I would not give power to his conversations anymore. Anyone who wants to follow him, we already know that they drank the Kool-Aid, and we just have other things that we need to focus on. And we just need to make sure that if someone is willing to take Putin out, the president's comments that he needs to be replaced, again, I hope there's no bearing on this America when something like these kind of conversations get out. We need to support and to stay safe here and to make sure, again, there is one policy for all refugees.
Well, that's what we've been talking about, Renee. One policy for all refugees, and we want that, but they need to pass a bill to state specifically that, because Congress and the Senate need to get on this. But then you know what, Renee, what I find out, you have all these old white men that's been doing this for 30 and 40 years. Well, their way of thinking is not necessarily the benefit of black and brown folks. I just have to put that out there, because if they're allowing 100,000 Ukrainians to come in here and won't allow 10,000 black and brown people to come here, well, that tells me right then that the way they're thinking is they want the blonde and blue eyes here and not the brown and blacks here.
Well, I just think that we should have a voice, and we should use our voice and our unity to bring this to attention and not just sit back and let people do whatever they want to do. Well, Calvin, we are coming up for our first break. This is News and Politics
Partial
Today.
funding for this program is brought to you by Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus. 2016 Chestnut Street, Greenville. Vehicle inspections, U-Haul rentals, spick and span hand, vehicle wash and detail. That's Blessed Hands. 252-413-0609. Open Monday through Saturday, 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus. 2016 Chestnut Street, Greenville. 252-413-0609. Thank you, Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, for your support.
This is Awesome Radio, WBIS LP 106.9.
And welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Borston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM WBIS. And our telephone number, should you choose to join the conversation, it's 252-756-2008. Well, Calvin, when last week, when we were here, there was get the commissions or the talks or the questioning of our new to be um, Supreme Court candidate was going to begin questioning her last week, Monday. And I spent a lot of time because I was just mesmerized by her ability. I don't know if I could have done that. Her ability to respond to these people in the questioning that they were giving her. And I just want to say that, and I have to mention her name, Judge Kataji Brown Jackson. I think she did an excellent job in her performance and her ability to maintain calm. She wasn't like some other people who were put on that platform crying and screaming about how they were being treated. And the other part of it is that what we did, and this is what I'm asking our listening audience to do, is that we called our Republican senators because North Carolina, their House, their state, and their Congress is controlled by Republicans, um, to vote for Judge Kataji Brown Jackson. So the vote is going to be coming up in 2 weeks, and we need to make sure that we have a parson in not only Democrats but also Republicans voting for this woman who is very qualified.
Well, not only is she very qualified, but some of the questioning and some of the the senators that was questioning her were really out of line. I remember when Kavanaugh, when he was being questioned. Well, he was being questioned because there was a sexual allegation against him, and so the questioning, the interview was completely different because there was people there that was saying what he did, as a young man to women, and not women, but to girls. And there was nothing like that, involving Miss with Judge Brown Jackson. And the way they was questioning her, especially Cruz, he was one of them that was really not even asking her questions about her ability to do the job, but they were questioning her about things that had nothing to do with the job that she was being nominated for. So these are the things that we're talking about. She is more qualified than a lot of people that's already on the Supreme Court.
And one of the things also, Calvin, since we're talking about Supreme Court judges, well, this is a time, I guess, that we should bring out Clarence Thomas. And he also had sexual allegations put against him. And I guess how when men are attacking women, where is or when there are people who actually come out and have facts that they have been attacked by these men, where is the integrity of the courts, of the Senate, who allow these people to move ahead and to go on these things? And let's talk about Clarence Thomas a little bit, and his wife, who was part of the insurrection, and him voting on things that she probably pillow talked him into doing, where it gave such conflicts. And I think that we as a country need to say that he needs to be impeached. He needs to go.
Well, uh, Gina Thomas, that's his wife's name. Justice Clarence Thomas' wife exchanged texts with Mark Meadows about efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Now, this is something that's so important because when we look at that, we need to say, well, why would he need, Renee, I have to repeat what you just said. He need to resign. He need to resign.
Or be impeached.
Or be impeached. Because or he need to recuse himself from any case that has to deal with the January 6th committee. And her name is Virginia Thomas, but everybody call her Gina. And like I said, she was urging Mark Meadows to overturn, and he couldn't do that, but that's what she was asking him to do. And one of the texts that she sent him, and I'm going to read it verbatim. This is a fight of good.
Who did she send the text to them?
Mark Meadows.
Okay, all right.
Okay. This is a fight of good versus evil. Meadows wrote, "Evil always looks like the victor until King of Kings triumphs." And then he said, "Thank you. Needed that. This plus a conversation with my best friend." Now, this is what she said. Okay. "Thanks plus a conversation with my best friend just now. I will try to keep holding on. America is worth it." Now, her best friend, and she and him both, when I say him, I'm talking about Clarence Thomas, they both have said publicly that they're each other's best friend. So if she's telling Mark Meadows now that she talked to her best friend about this overturning of the 2020 election, who's her best friend that she's talking about? She's talking about Clarence Thomas, her husband. But we need to make sure that she is called by the committee to testify. And I also think that Clarence Thomas need to be called by the committee to testify as well, because as much as he don't want to be involved, he is totally involved in this here. Like they had a case, Renee, where the case would have been unanimous, but Clarence Thomas was the only holdout, and this was one of Trump cases that the Supreme Court was listening to and had to resolve. Well, Clarence Thomas was the only Supreme Court justice that held out.
Okay, and he was holding out because they wanted to get the release of Trump's his paperwork and also his emails and his telephone on the day of the insurrection. And Calvin, one of the things that we do every show is that we have people here in North Carolina in the House seat that actually stood against certifying the elections. And this is what this whole insurrection was to keep Trump in power. And could you imagine at this time, I guess they were, him and Putin had this great relationship that must be on and off at this time, but he was about to give Ukraine to Russia. But we have our dear House of Representatives who stood against the insurrection. And I haven't named their names because there's so much conversation going on that it's important that we keep this in our head, because they're seeking to run for re-election. And I guess if you're a Trumpster, if you have drinking the Kool-Aid like some of these lawmakers have, then fine, so be it. But if you are about the democracy of this country, then it's important we know how our legislators have voted in the past and where do they stand at this time. They might move away from Trump at this time because they realize that's not so popular, but they have stood with him in the past, and we're still trying to find out what other roles did they play with the insurrection. So just to name these few names real quick, we have Rep. Richard Hudson, out of the Fayetteville area. We have Virginia Fox. We have David Rouser. We have Greg Murphy. We have Madison Cawthorn. We have Ted Budd and Dan Bishop. Most of these are at this time are seeking re-election. We need to pull their cards and see where they stand on issues of our safety and our democracy in this America. And I didn't mention, Calvin, one of the things that and why I pay so much attention to Ukraine is that they are fighting for their democracy. They don't want to be living under a dictatorship or what is it, autocracy? Say the word for me.
I can't even say it, but go ahead, keep going.
Okay.
Be good.
All right. So we don't want that. And here in this America, this is where the conflict was with the insurrection that happened on January 6th, that they wanted to stop the certification and they wanted to keep this Trump person in in the presidency. So we have got to, and when they see that Trump was unable to get the votes that he needed, this is why they went into the Capitol. We're coming up for another break. This is News and Politics Today. We'll be right
Partial
back.
funding for this program is brought to you by 33 East Apartments. Still looking for a place to call home next year? Live better at 33 East, your best value in student housing. Only 8 minutes away from East Carolina University, 33 East offers all-inclusive apartment units in close proximity to the center of campus. Our property is designed to the convenience of our residents as we offer a full set of amenities to fulfill a well-rounded lifestyle for our on-site community. You can find us at 3305 East 10th Street in Greenville, North Carolina, right across from Cookout. 33 East Apartments. Live larger, live closer, live better. Thank you, 33 East, for your support.
Hi, my name is Lola Hunter, and I listen to Awesome Radio 106.9.
All right. Ooh, yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. Here we go, y'all. Sing a little message out to those of y'all who feel like you're struggling.
And good morning and welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. This is our last segment, and we are here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM WBISLP. And we thank you so much for joining us today. And if you care to join this conversation, because right before the break, what were we talking about? Oh, we're talking about democracy here in this America and then over in Ukraine, and why it is so important, because we have people who are actually here in this America, because we are in the land of the free, that are supporting Putin and what he is doing in Ukraine. And so 252-756-2008. And I'm saying that even though it's horrible, it's Ukraine is being devastated. We don't want devastation here in this America. And when you have people who have a voice on the radio, and they are standing with Putin, they're giving those messages out that they think he's doing the right thing, that he should take Ukraine back into Russia. And then you have a former president who says, I support Putin. And then now he's saying that we should bomb Russia. He doesn't have the power to say that or to do that. But when he gives that kind of conversation out, it confuses, or it gives a message to the Kool-Aid drinkers or his followers.
Well, Renee, when Putin decided to go into the Ukraine country, well, he thought that he was going to go in there and they wasn't going to fight. They were just going to let him come in and take over. but he found that they are a strong believer in their country, and they are fighting and they're keeping their country. And not only are they keeping it, it's so far, but they're also the casualties. There's a lot of casualties of war, and but what Putin is doing is that he's trying to, and he's not trying, he's killing civilians. Now, in my world, just killing civilians versus going after military is a criminal act. But we don't look at it like that. He don't look at it. All he wants to do is kill people and try to get them to say, well, I'm going to give up because he's killing my mother, my sister, my children. And that's not what's happening. And the thing too, Renee, is that Russia have lost between 7,000 and 15,000 people that have been killed during this war. But he's not letting the dead go back to Russia.
Right. Okay. And then so when and if this war ever ends, because they're looking at this as being a long-term war, when they realize that their children are not coming back into Russia, then who would they side with? Why, why was it necessary for people to lose lives over land?
Well, not only that, but I just had a thought, Renee, because you got Fox, news. I can't even call them news because the news should be about truth. But Russia is playing some of their talk shows that we have here. They're playing them over there because one in particular, he is talking about how Putin is doing a great job.
Right. So again, the propaganda that goes or is happening here is being spread over there, and since Russia has limited exposure to communications, they have to basically look at what is given. Um, just to keep in mind, since we are coming up with midterms or coming up in primaries, and we're saying to people, please participate. If you're not registered to vote, get registered. If you know of someone who is turning 18 and has not registered yet, get them registered. We need to make sure that we are in the position to take control over whatever it is that we feel is going to be better for our community. And one of the things I just want to say, Calvin, is that when we people who are running in these various positions, they are basically leaders. They are people who are coming into a light that can make decisions that can either make or break you. So I'm just asking for our people who will be voting to support leaders who have empathy, leaders who want a better world, and we want to make sure that we do our due diligence. We owe it to ourselves to do our homework on people who are seeking our vote. If a candidate is currently in that position and they're running for re-election, that's called a incumbent, and we're asking that we allow we allow ourselves to look at what they have done, do homework on these candidates. And if you have a new candidate seeking your vote, well, again, what is the platform that they're running on? Is their platform going to change or improve your quality of life? This is why elections have consequences. Elections can be something that can devastate you, can devastate your life.
What really talking about elections. I'm smiling, but it's. I think it's serious. The fact that we keep talking. I keep talking in reference to handicap parking at the town commons. I've called a couple council people and never got a call back. But yet they're going to be running for election again. And the thing is, why did they take the handicap parking out of the town commons?
This is local. We're on local news right now. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, this is local news. Like I said, I called city council people. I called a couple of them. And this has been over a month. I haven't got a call back from them. I don't know why they took the handicap parking out. We have a a large veteran community right here in Pitt County, North Carolina, and a lot of handicapped veterans right here in Pitt County. And they go to the park, the town commons, but yet now they can't use their parking.
Okay, well, now what they've done is that they've allocated that space for people who have boats as a place where they can drop their boat in the water. So you have to understand what the city, what their priorities are. Do they care that handicapped people can't park there and they've not allocated any additional handicap spots? Or the people who have boats, do you have a boat?
I don't have a boat.
But you have a car.
I have a car.
And that's your concern.
And I'm a disabled veteran.
Okay. So that's your concern about for people who are handicapped, them having easy access to one of the major parks here in Greenville, North Carolina. But our city council people, our mayor, they felt that it was more important for them to have boat lifts for the few people or maybe the many people they have. I mean, that's why we got to vote. We have got to vote because we have got to vote our interest. Okay. And if you're handicapped and you now realize that when you go down to the town commons and as the weather starts to change, you'll be going out more. You will have to you would have to park far to get to wherever part of the park you want. Oh, we have a call coming in. Well, hello.
This is ST Data calling about your Google My Business listing.
Okay, they got this number also. Okay. So again, you can have a voice to say, well, listen, if you don't put back the handicap parking in the town commons, then I'm not going to vote for you. I'm going to vote somebody who believes that the handicapped people should have handicap parking.
Very good, Renee. You took care of that. Excellent. But one of the other things, Renee, we had said back in February that at least once a month we were going to have something on Black history on the show, and I pulled something up that I've had for quite a while, and it has to do with someone right here in Greenville, North Carolina. His name is Boston Napoleon Bonaparte Board Sr. And he was born in August of 27, 1860, right here in Greenville, North Carolina, Pitt County, and he died February the 12th, 1932. We'll just give you a little bio of him. Excuse me. Boston Board was the first Black Greenville Town Council member. He was born a slave owned by an Abner Board, whose wife's name was Mary. He taught himself to read and write with the Bible. He became a large landowner in Greenville. He was the author of 3 books, and he taught Sunday school for 34 years. He accumulated and rented 36 homes in Greenville, mostly on Reed Street. Some of y'all might remember that, where he lived in a 2-story house. All 36 homes was painted green. Boyd won a case in the United States Supreme Court against the officials of Greenville, who challenged his right to rent houses to white folks. Now think about that for a second. They didn't want a Black man to rent houses to white folks. It's usually the other way around. But anyway, his first book, The 12 Wonders of the World, Discoveries of the 20th Century. In the last book, like I said, he wrote 3 books, but this was something that this man did, and he accumulated, like I said, 36 homes, 36 houses. Back in the early 1900s, he was a great man right here in Greenville, North Carolina, and he was born a slave, got out of that, and now that's the history of Greenville.
Okay. Thank you for that information, because I'm sure a lot of people did not know about it. And again, his name was Boston Napoleon Bonaparte Boyd Sr., and he was born April 27th, 1860, and he died, so he lived a long time, February the 12th, 1932. And he was born in Greenville, lived in Greenville, died in Greenville, and he owned property. So back in the day, people were getting property. Black people were owning property here in North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina. Let me be more specific. But Calvin, just want to go over some of the issues that we need for our people to pay attention to. We need to make sure that there is one refugee policy for all refugees, not bringing things out um, and being selective on what is important to you. It has to be what is important to America when setting policy, that we need to make sure that we take at the world's interest at heart, because the same devastation that is going on in Ukraine is also going on in Africa. Recently, there have been coups that are going on from years up until now where people are actually dying. And they are, some of them are even standing with Russia because it was Russia and China that came to their aid. And we need to find out why America does not feel that the African nation has any interest in them. People are going in, China is going into certain parts of Africa, and they are drilling for the oil. And when they are drilling for oil, they are not it's not getting all the Africans who are living in there, in that continent, they are in that country. They're not getting all the jobs. They are actually bringing Chinese people over there to do the work. And we need to be not limited in just the town that we are. We have got to become worldly people so that when things happen and people start to vote and make policy, we have to make sure that we have an interest in their decision, because it is going to have an impact on us. We are already with voter suppression. They are taking, they want to bring us back to the Jim Crow ages. They are taking our rights and our pressures away. And we need to make sure that we call our legislators and we tell them, because they are there working for us. And the main thing that we want them to know about is that Judge Brown Jackson needs to be voted in as a Supreme Court. We also need to let them know is that we want our voices heard on Clarence Thomas and his wife Jenny. We need, because he already has shown that he can take a conflict and know that he's doing things that are not right. We need for him to be removed. We need for him to be impeached. We don't trust him on this kind of court. And we need to have Judge Roberts give a voice or say something about what he has done. So, as the show comes to an end, Calvin, we just need to make sure that our people out there are doing their due diligence, support leaders who have empathy, leaders who want a better world, not leaders who are looking to divide and separate. And we need to make sure that we start to do and make sure that our lives are being fulfilled. There is so much stuff going on between the pandemic, overcoming that, between our schools, the critical race theory, and how people are taking segments of something that has nothing to do with anything, but changing the narrative. We need to have our narrative put into all the things that people are trying to change.
Well, you mentioned the critical race theory, and that was something that they brought up with
Ketanji,
Judge Brown Jackson. And then the audacity for someone to ask her what is the definition of a woman. I'm glad that she answered it the way she did, because I don't know if my wife would have stood up, sit there, and answered some of those questions.
I would have,
because it was, I think, humiliating. But she would be interviewed for a job, and sometimes you have to just deal with it. And she dealt with it. Not only she dealt with it, but she stood out as a great individual, in my opinion.
Okay, so again, this is News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here every Monday at 10 a.m. and we always like to get some calls in so that we want to hear from you. We want to know that if are we moving or sharing your thoughts. And maybe that's why you're not calling, because we're saying what they want. But our number here is 252-756-2008. And we're always thankful that Awesome Radio gives us an opportunity to share our views. Okay. And again, some of the things that we say, not necessarily views from Awesome Radio. They are our views for news and politics today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill.
And I just want to plug my show at 2 p.m. today. The name of my show is Veteran Care Matters, and my show is co-hosted with Dr. J. And we are here for veterans. We talk about different benefits, different things that apply to veterans. So again, tune back in at 2 p.m. today for Veteran Care Matters.
All right. And the other thing, someone had asked from California, a senator, I think his name was Padilla, asked her what would she suggest to young people, and she spoke about how she was walking around Harvard, very lost at that time, very homesick. And do you remember what the woman told her to?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Well, next week we'll have that. We'll have what
Persevere.
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 Okay. And we have to use not only for young people who are trying to break through or to accomplish their goals, we have to make sure that we continue to persevere, because no matter what age you are, okay, you cannot just say that, well, I'm just going to wait for my time now that I'm 65 or now that I'm 70 something. I'm not going to just wait for the dirt to be thrown on my face. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to continue to have new goals, and I'm going to continue to live a life of just of service.
Well, Renee, I think that's a good way of ending the show, because when you become a certain age, and become a senior, a lot of seniors, they say they want to just relax and do nothing. But I think that, you should be doing something. If it's nothing but getting up every morning and gardening, getting up every morning and get a part-time job. Not that you necessarily need a part-time job, but do it just to get out of the house. Walk. There's something that we need to do when you become a senior, just to keep the blood flowing.
And the whole thing is that if you think better, then you want to live better. And we have to be in constant thought to make sure that we are filling a fulfilled life. And do you trust yourself? Okay, do you trust yourself to be able to pursue this? And that is easier for you just to, now I'm retired. I can sit at home and I can be a do nothing, want nothing person. Or can you take those expertise and that experience that you've had over the years and now use it for the betterment of our country and for people who might not necessarily have that or have that support that they need to take and to persevere and to move forward.
Well, moving forward, I can say that
My back is against